At the very least, a seriously ill child requiring palliative or end-of-life care should be made as comfortable as possible. That much surely nobody will disagree with. But a report shared exclusively with ITV News has found that in much of England, the support for children and their families just isn't enough. The charity Together for Short Lives says that only a third of NHS areas in England are meeting the required standard for 24/7 palliative care. To meet this, you'd need a massive increase in nursing staff. 4,960 are required, but there are just 902 employed. And the charity says there's a shortfall in funding of £295 million over the next year. We filmed with one family who has waited for months to get a visit from their local NHS team and say that life is a constant battle.
Oh, what is that?
Jim once worked as a bodyguard to the rich and famous, but his one job now is to try to protect his young son.
Screaming in the park.
At 17 months old, Jackson's delighted by him.
Daddy, eat one.
But he's also dying. Born with a heart condition and a genetic disorder, he needs medication 11 times a day.
Jaxson, should we do meds? Good boy.
But his parents can't get hold of the most basic equipment they need to administer it.
Good boy.
To minimise the risk of infection, we talk in a nearby park.
I've spent 6 weeks now fighting with various departments within the NHS just to basically get those syringes for him. He needs those to stay alive. 6 weeks later, we still don't have them. No one wants to take responsibility for that. And it's those kind of challenges that make it hard.
After spending most of his first year in hospital, Jaxson was moved to palliative care at home and should have a dedicated community nurse to oversee his needs. But 5 months on, the family are still waiting for their first visit, even though Jackson's life is more likely to be counted in months than years.
Sometimes it does feel like the system is kind of ignoring Jaxson, or perhaps they've written him off because he's going to die. So what's the point? It's kind of like that attitude. And we've had a lot of fights just to get simple things organised for him.
Luckily, Jim doesn't give up easily. 24 hours on, he and Laura, at 7 months pregnant, and Jaxson are on their way to Westminster. They're asking ministers for immediate action because time is not on their side.
Every day is a battle. You're constantly doing phone calls or emails or chasing someone from a team doing their job when they should be doing it for him. We should be spending time with Jaxson and not chasing all these people.
Hi Laura, how are you?
Hello,
How's
Laura.
Jaxson?
Yeah, he's sleeping.
Yeah? Oh, look at him.
They're being supported by Andy from the charity Together for Short Lives. It's found that in 2/3 of the country, children like Jaxson aren't getting the support the guidelines say they should.
Children's palliative care is really propped up by the generosity of the public in the voluntary sector and in the NHS. Often donations from the public and charity are keeping these services running. We wouldn't accept that in maternity services when a child is born, so we shouldn't accept it at the end of a child's life either.
Dear Prime Minister, my name is Jim and I have a son, Jaxson, who is 17 months
Jim
old.
has brought a
He has
letter for Rishi
life-limiting
Sunak,
heart
but it
condition
isn't
and a
an
rare
easy
genetic
read.
disorder, which means whether or not Jaxson and other children like him can access Lifeline 24/7 palliative care in hospital, at home or in a children's hospice should depend on their needs and not their postcode. Please act now by fixing the huge gaps in workforce and funding.
He needs someone in the government to take accountability.
It's not the people on the ground that the problem lies with, it's the system tying those people on the ground's hands behind their back so they can't do what they want to do, because a lot of the people along the way want to help, but you can see they can't.
One of the things that strikes me about you is that you're a former bodyguard, you're used to being able to protect people, to keep people safe. How has it felt that you've not been able to do that for Jaxson?
In my working career, I've been shot at, I've been stabbed, I've been bottled, and this is just literally topped it. This has been the hardest. As a parent, you want to protect your child. Sometimes I feel helpless and I've put him in a situation I can't get him out of. That's really tough, really tough.
The government's told ITV News it's made over £350 million available to hospices since 2020.
Oh, what is that?
But throughout all this, Jim and Laura have had to juggle the needs of their other children too, to try to spend each spare second with Jaxson. It's help with care at home they need when every moment counts. Rachel Younger, ITV News.